Good morning, Lubbock and West Texas. Welcome to the Wake Up Call. If you're just joining us this morning, happy Friday, everybody. 71 degrees outside. Looking for a high today of 96 as we wrap up another week. First week, in fact, of Texas Tech classes out there. Creating some parking headaches. Displaced about 1,000 students off campus because we were 1,000 beds short. They were expecting a 2,000 student enrollment increase, and they got 4. So these are good problems to have if you're out at Texas Tech. And then countdown 8 days away from football kickoff. Here in the Hub City, Texas Tech versus ACU. I know you're going, Brennan. Good morning, Mr. Osborne.
Good morning.
We've been talking about you.
Yeah, I heard.
We've been talking about you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I like to tell our guests, I tell them to be here. If they're scheduled for the 7 a.m., I'll tell them to be here a little early. We trick them into getting another segment out of them.
Yeah, and I know it gives you a little less having to talk. You make the guest talk.
Which people like.
I think people, you mean you.
Yeah. So talking less, yeah. I don't know about that, but anything you say is usually relevant. So good morning. How's your Friday so far?
It's been good. It's been good. I slept good, and I'm excited about the day.
Yeah. Did you catch the blood moon last night?
Oh, my gosh. I actually caught it yesterday morning. Obviously, it wasn't a blood moon yesterday morning, but I was driving out of the subdivision and turned to my right to make sure I didn't hit anybody, and all of a sudden see this gorgeous, gorgeous moon. Just big and bright and wonderful. Yeah. Last night I got a little tired, and I went to sleep beforehand.
I know you get up early.
Yeah.
We all have weird schedules around here. I took a nap about 7 o'clock last night. Got up about 9:30. I lasted till about 10:45 and got to see it almost at 95%, which is what they predicted. But I got a good picture of it. I'll show it in the break.
My son stayed up and watched it, and he's all into all the moons and
astronomy.
Yeah, well, just kind of enjoying the spectacularness of it.
Yeah. Well, it was spectacular. I got up this morning. I was just perusing through some social media stuff, and lots of people stayed up for it last night. Lots of pictures out there. I got a picture of it, too. Well, you've had a busy week.
It has been a busy week, but it's been a good week. Prospect load continues to remain at probably all-time highs in terms of activity and the such. And so
you say prospect load?
Yeah, our prospect activity and our total load of the total number of companies that are looking at growing in our community and also expanding to our community, and continues to be at all-time highs. And kind of put it in perspective, in first probably mid 2010s or so, maybe late 2010s. Prospect load would be maybe about 90, 95, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Total prospects, and today we're probably closer to 115 to 125.
I'd call that healthy growth.
Yeah.
And then news. You made news, I guess, was it yesterday, announcing these 5 business projects expected to generate a bunch of jobs and a whole bunch of economic boosting, I guess I would say, with $67 million capital investment. I say you had a busy week. When you make an announcement like this, these five projects coming to Lubbock, creating jobs, is that? I mean, the work's really on the front end to get them here, and then you just make the announcement. How long does it take to build up to announce? This is a big deal. 5 of them. How long does one of them take on average?
Yeah, we traditionally say they really are generally between a year and 2 years to get a project to come to fruition.
Yeah.
The fastest I've ever done in my whole career, done a project was in 6 weeks, and it was a building that was already ready. It was a back office type operation where someone needed to be operational pronto, and so they moved right in. But I've also had them take 4 years, and so it can really vary. You know, you look back to Loprino, the more complicated the project, the longer they tend to take. I was going to ask you about Loprino. Yeah. On Loprino, we found out about them in August of 2019. And I believe it was in October 1st of 2021, we actually announced them. So that was 2 years. And that also involved COVID, which slowed their project down just a little bit.
Not bad.
Yeah. And then, but to kind of put it in perspective, they broke ground in June of 22. And they started producing cheese in January of 25.
Yeah.
So August of 19 to June of 25, that's, you know, nearly 6 years to kind of get that project from the concept stage to the to producing.
Is it true a byproduct of that cheese production is water?
Yes, very much so. They actually have to take in water from the city of Lubbock. They need water to help with their process. And then obviously they take in a tremendous amount of milk to make the cheese. The milk is primarily made up of water. And so by the end of the entire process, they actually have excess water. And they actually have more water than what they started with. And so
that's how I couldn't remember how it was phrased. But
yeah, it is pretty significant. They take in probably about 1.5 million gallons of water a day, but they also produce about 2.5 million gallons of water a day.
What do they do with it?
So they then clean that to stream quality at their wastewater treatment plant. They put it into an effluent pipeline that then takes it to Lake 6 and puts it right into the middle of the lake. That does multiple things. Number one, the water is actually cleaner going into that lake than is currently already there.
Oh, wow.
And then secondly, because of the amount of flow that goes into that lake, it actually helps with not having to dredge it with silt, settling and everything. So it kind of keeps things stirred up just a little bit, and it's really healthy for the fish and wildlife that are in there.
So listen up, data centers. That's the way to do it. Right?
That's a good way. Definitely.
We'll talk about data centers a little bit on the other side. Visiting with President and CEO of Lubbock Economic Development Alliance, John Osborne, this morning. Glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by. We'll be back on the other side. Stay with us.
Wake Up Call with Benji Snead continues on 92.3 The Hub, the voice for freedom.
Good morning, Lubbock. 7:06 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. This is the Wake Up Call on 92.3 The Hub. Benji Snead here along with producer Brennan Riker and our guest in the studio this morning. See how a little pause for the music there?
Yes.
Dolly always gets you going in the morning. We've had that as our show open since day one, 5 and almost 6 months ago. So we didn't just stick it in there when she passed. So she's an anomaly.
I wouldn't mind you playing it just a little longer so we can really enjoy it. It's a great song.
I get mixed feedback about that. We would let it breathe for a while, sometimes, and then I'd get a text, man, I wish you'd just start talking right away. Some people are like, why don't you play the song more? Anyway, different things out there. I see that you brought a lot of materials with you, and I want to get to whatever it is you want to talk about. But you guys had a meeting Wednesday.
Yes.
Performance agreements. Mm-hmm. I guess it was 4 different projects. Explain what a performance agreement is and what y'all did there.
Yeah, and just to clarify, we did. We actually only took up 3 of the 4. One of them we postponed to next month.
Okay.
But a performance agreement. So when the way that the law reads that on how LEDA was established is that if you are going to incentivize a company, there has to be a contract between the organization and the company. Mm. And there are certain things that have to go into that contract, such as what is the company going to perform? What are they going to do? What are they bringing to the community? And then what are the incentives that are being that are going to be given to that company as a result of what they're investing and bringing to the community?
Right.
And then also they call it a clawback, and it's basically if the company doesn't do what they say they're going to do, then how does the community get paid back the incentives that were provided? And we do a lot of our incentives after the fact, and so job creation incentives is kind of the easy one to discuss. If a company were to add some, especially some high paying jobs, Terracon was one of the ones that a couple of months ago we announced, and they were adding 75 jobs and a average salary of $65,000. So our assistance to help them was a job creation incentive. Right. So they actually have to. We measure them on day one, kind of get a base, and then we measure them each year on that same day. Going forward over the next 5 years. Right. And as they add those jobs, we pay them 1/5 of the incentive that they've gotten. I see. And so, when we're talking about a job creation of $5,000 per job, then that means they're going to earn $1,000 for each of those 75 jobs in year one, $1,000 per job in year two, and so forth.
What does that 5,000 represent?
That is the incentive.
I see. Yeah. I see. Okay. Yeah. So it's kind of accountability mechanism.
That's right.
So yesterday, the headline is 174 new jobs, 11 million annual payroll, 67 million in investment. Which one of those numbers matters most to you?
Honestly, they all matter because they matter in different ways. The investment that's going on the tax rolls helps with property tax dollars, and it shows their stake in the ground. The more money they're spending, the harder it is for someone to pick up and leave. But the jobs side of thing is really why you do a lot of what we do, and trying to provide opportunities for our citizens, for our graduates of high school, junior college, and colleges to get a job afterwards, and the amount of money that they get in salary actually then helps from a fiscal impact to the community, because now you're spreading that money to other entities in town, and as well as the amount of sales tax that's generated off of those dollars. So the higher the wage, people are going to spend, and so if you can get everybody earning $10 million a year, then they're going to spend all $10 million. Yeah, and so the bigger the wage, the more money is coming in.
Great answer. The one of these companies in the news, is it Terracon?
Terracon, yep.
Accounts for said 75 jobs, $6 million expansion. It's engineering, science, and technical services, especially important to diversifying Lubbock's economy these days.
Yeah, it really is. And also remember that we have this phenomenal Tier 1 Carnegie research institution called Texas Tech University. And
right, I heard of it.
They've gotten up to 45,000 students now. To kind of put that in perspective, they were at 28,000 students in 2010. Yeah, so it's been a tremendous amount of growth. And looking at the graduates from all of our universities, it totals about almost 16,000 students every single year. And so the thing that I love about this project with Terracon is that they're basically doubling in size. They're adding about 75 jobs. They're an engineering firm.
Right.
And we produce a tremendous amount of engineering graduates that we do have some fantastic engineering firms here, but we produce more graduates than we do have open positions. Right. And so to continue to try to retain those students and give them an opportunity to grow here in our community, it's a great project. Plus the fact that the average wage on this particular announcement on Terracon was I think $65,000. So $65,000 jobs. Wow. That's right, on average. Yes,
on average. Yeah. Well, and it's funny you bring up the engineering, and then the reason I was asking about Terracon, we did a breakdown this morning of the most popular majors.
Yes,
that's number one is engineering. No, number one was business.
Number one was business.
Engineering was in the top five. So it's kind of a dance. We're producing all these engineering graduates, and you're working as hard as you can to find jobs for them.
That's right. I love the fact that having lots of universities here really gives a natural recruiting engine for our workforce to come to Lubbock. And so, they come as a freshman, and then they stay there 2 or 4 years, or even 6 or 10, depending on how long it takes them to graduate. And yet, they're oftentimes they fall in love with the community. They came because of the university, but they fall in love with the community, and they want to remain in a university town. And we do consider ourselves very much a university community, right. But we are not the size of Stillwater. We're 10 times that size, right. So it really makes for great opportunities for our graduates to stay.
Do you think? So I mean, for years, all the way back to when I was in school, 85 years ago. Back then, it was this whole syndrome where they come from, say, Dallas, Houston, Austin, go to Tech, and can't, or even the homegrown students can't wait to get out back where they came from, or get out of Lubbock and end up coming back. Is that still popular, or more and more of them wanting to stay?
There more and more are wanting to stay, and I think that's because our community has really invested in a lot of the needs that Gen Z and Gen Y before them, the millennials, what they were looking for in a community. Those two generations choose where they want to live before they choose where they want to work. And so they will oftentimes just quit a job and go move to a town without another job. And, you and I as Gen Xers, that's not the case.
Never happen.
Yeah, that would never happen. But because we've invested in the types of things that the millennials and Gen Zers want in a community, they are more often choosing to remain. We still do have quite a few that leave and go back to major metropolitan areas or other parts of the country. They get fantastic offers because we have such high quality institutions here, and so. But what we find is that after 5, 6, 7, 8 years, sometimes 10 years, they've started families. And now they're ready to be able to spend time going to the dance recital with their kid, or the flag football game, or whatever. And it's much harder to do that in an urban area. Whereas coming to Lubbock, you have a lot more ability to get to all of the things that you want to do once 5 o'clock hits.
Very good.
And so I think one of our biggest reasons why we've continued to really, really grow over this last decade at the rate that we've been growing is because we have more and more people that are moving back to our community.
Yeah, very good. Visiting with John Osborne this morning with the Lubbock Economic Development Alliance. Want to ask you about, Paramount. They're homegrown, while is it Ambrosia?
Ambrose.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Duh. Yeah. Represents an outside automotive parts distributor. I want to ask you, how differently does LEDA approach retaining a local versus recruiting new? Yeah. Coming up after the break. More with John Osborne after this. Stay with us.
Wake Up Call with Benji Snead continues on 92.3 The Hub, the voice for freedom.
Welcome back to the program. Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. 7:20 a.m. As overlooking another beautiful sunrise from downtown Lubbock. We're live from the Raymar Communication Compound. Looking for a high today of 96. Phone and text lines are open this morning. If you have a question for our guest, John Osborne, in the studio, a comment, a complaint, let us know. We take those. 806-771-0923. 806-771-0923. I've got we're swapping mom stories.
Yeah.
I got to divert just a minute and tell mine. So my mom.
Can we first say hi to your mom?
Hey, Mom.
Because she just joined.
Yeah, and I was going to unpack it a little bit, but good morning, Mom. Thank you, John, for saving me there. I know she's listening, but she tries to listen every morning. You're her favorite guest. I told you that during the break, and I'm not kidding.
I'm pretty honored, actually.
And I'll prove it. Yesterday, we had a filmmaker on who's doing this ranch revitalization docu-series. Happens to be my little brother. I sent her a link to that, and she said, I'm going to listen to that later because John Osborne's on your program this morning. And then she says, oh, great, I got this. I sent her a link to the live. She says, great, I've been trying since 6 a.m. to get this to work. I wish you would do what I asked and send me a link every morning. But happy Friday, Mom. Thanks for this. Say hi to Mom, John.
Hello, Benji's mom. I'm actually pretty honored that you're listening and that you enjoy what we discuss. But I'll get on to Benji before I leave and make sure that he sends you a link every morning.
Thanks. You are an accountability guy. After all,
that's right.
Quickly tell your mom's story.
Oh, one of my favorite mom stories is we worked the Leprino project for a couple of years, and so I never could tell Mom who I was working with, but I did tell her I was working this big project and it was taking a lot of time and everything. And when we won, I called her and I told her all about the fact that we'd won Leprino and that all how excited I was and everything. Right. And she was just ecstatic. And so she hangs up the phone and calls me right back and she says, "Is this what you've been working on the last 2 years?" Yeah. And so she comes a week early before the announcement. And so she's there on Tuesday for a Friday announcement. And she can't get the name.
Where does she live?
She lives in the Dallas area.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I grew up in Richardson. She still lives over kind of by the Galleria in Dallas. And so she comes in on Tuesday and she wants to hear all about this project. And so I keep mentioning Leprino Foods, and I say it correctly, but she can't. She's Laprina and Prino, and she just can't get it. And I finally on Thursday night said, "Mom, you've got to stop saying the name because you're going to make me say it wrong at the press conference on Friday." At the press conference, she goes up to the president of the company and says all these nice things and how she's my mom and all that. And then she says the name of the company incorrectly. And he was so gracious and nice to her and everything. Yeah. But it's good fun mom stories.
She almost had you saying it wrong.
That's right.
Visiting with John Osborne this morning. If you have a question or comment, 771-0923, 806-771-0923. Call or text. If you've got a mom story, let us know. We'll just tell mom stories.
Oh, they're fantastic.
We talked before the break. The company Paramount, they're a homegrown company, while Ambrose represents kind of an outside company, automotive parts distributor coming in. How differently does LEDA approach retaining a local company for growth versus recruiting a new one?
Well, first of all, in the economic development world, it's far easier to help grow a local company than it is to get a new company to come to town. And that's traditionally we've seen more local companies growing than we have new companies coming in, and so it's a good balancing effort. We very much go and visit with our local companies to make sure that things are operating smoothly, see where they need some assistance. We also travel to many of their headquarters and actually go visit with them about making sure that they feel that Lubbock loves them and we appreciate their operations being here. There's not a different scale in terms of incentives because we really don't do this kind of pot of incentives. Like you're eligible for this pot and that pot and that pot kind of thing. It's actually the way we handle incentives is much more to solve problems and challenges. So a company may want to be on a particular site and the water and the sewer line needs to be extended. Okay, we'll help with that. Or maybe the road needs to be widened and improved. Okay, we'll help with that. We've also seen where electrical upgrades were needed at a building, and so maybe we're helping with that assistance.
You justify that by way of how many jobs they create.
That's right. And so kind of we have this. There's a group out of Austin called Impact Data Source, and they have a model, impact modeling, that allows us to input the inputs of the project, and then it spits out the benefit that comes back to the community as a result of this project. And so we can look at that, what that benefit is, and then how quickly do we want something to pay back? Right. A call center, you don't want it to be a long payback. You want it to be really, really short because those contracts end pretty quickly oftentimes, and they can just pick up and leave. But Leprino, that's going to be here for 70 years. You might go a lot longer on your payback back to the community. Sure.
Okay. Let's talk about Texas Tech. I'm curious about something here. I mean, we just saw record enrollment. 5 times the average annual growth was announced at right at 45,000 students. Now they've displaced about 1,000 of them because they're short on beds. Good problem to have. Does LEDA work with any private industries or businesses that address problems that Tech is having, like, say, student housing?
So that's a great question. When we say work with, then absolutely we're open to providing all kinds of information. Yeah. I'm just not allowed to incentivize. So the Type A law that we were established under is a Texas law, and it gives us certain rules and regulations on what we're allowed to incentivize. Mm-hmm. But we very much believe that we are meant to help provide great information about our community and to help companies that are trying to be helpful to our community get established. And so if it's a retail company, we'll help provide traffic count numbers or give them available real estate if that's something that they're interested in. Talk to them about the growth of the community and what's taking place there. As it relates to housing and the growth of Texas Tech University, if we've got everything from apartment developers to housing developers, if they have questions, we have a ton of great statistical information that they can help guide them in their developments, and oftentimes we're putting them in touch with people that they need to visit with to help them with their developments. Okay,
we had Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Jennifer Wilson on earlier in the week, and I asked a question, something like, what's the most other than core services, like roads, infrastructure, trash, that sort of thing, water. What were the underserved areas in terms of the budget? And she talked about quality of life. Are you guys allowed to do quality of life stuff in the city?
Not in LEDA, we're not. Okay. But over in Market Lubbock, which is our sister organization, same management team, basically the same board of directors. We have one additional board of director on Market Lubbock that is a hotelier. And but we have the same management team, same marketing team. We just have different sales teams for LEDA and for Visit Lubbock. But in Market Lubbock, which is where Visit Lubbock is housed, it was established under a different act, right? And so it's just a Texas nonprofit corporation and has a lot more flexibility on what it does. So probably in 2019 we started, and I think we finished in 2020 redoing the ball fields at Burl Huffman. Oh, so if you've been out there and seen those championship turf fields and all the great lighting and stuff, that was a project that we did to help revitalize that park. We are actually under construction right now at 1585 and Milwaukee at the Tom Martin complex. Yes, if you go out that direction, you'll notice that all the grass is being torn out and moved, and we're putting in all new turf fields for every one of those ball fields. So that we can have national tournaments and all, and both softball and baseball. So that's pretty exciting. Yep. We've helped with the revitalization of downtown, and then we've done a lot of efforts to try to get the innovation hub to establish good companies, many of them retails and such.
We'll pick it up with downtown after the break.
Wake Up Call with Benji Snead continues on 92.3 The Hub, the voice for freedom.
Good morning. Welcome back to the program. 7:37 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us this morning. You're listening to the Wake Up Call. Benji Snead here along with producer Brennan Riker. Looking for a high today of 96 degrees. Phone and text lines are open this morning, 806-771-0923. Boy, John, time flies when you're having fun. We're almost done with the hour. Our guest in the studio this morning, President and CEO of Lubbock Economic Development Alliance, John Osborne. What have we not talked about that you want to get out there? We can tell more mom stories if you want.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid my mom might be listening, actually, if she can just find that red button. Mm-hmm. No, I think there's obviously a lot of conversations along the idea of data centers. Oh, yeah. So
I was going to let you bring it up.
Well, I've heard you bring it up a few different times and such, and I don't want to bore the audience if that's not a subject that they want to hear about. But we've been looking at an analysis over the last 5 years or so. Yeah. Of where these, what they call large-scale data centers. Right. Large-scale data center by ERCOT standards is anything that's over 75 megawatts. And so obviously that goes all the way up to gigs, and a gig is 1,000 megawatts. But if you look at kind of the area that goes from the Texas Panhandle down to Abilene and over to Pecos and everything in between, mm-hmm. There's been, in the last 5 years, 34 data centers that have been announced and planned and under construction and even under operation.
Right.
And that represents about $430 billion in investment. And so it's huge, absolutely huge. Of the 34, only 4 are actually inside of city limits.
Okay.
So the bulk of them have been going to rural areas. And if you really look at take that map and lay it over where the CREZ lines were when those got built back in the early 2000s to help bring the green energy from West Texas to the consumers of the Texas Triangle.
Right.
They really flow. These data centers are really flowing along where those CREZ lines were built. Right. And that's primarily because those are 345 kV lines. That's the big superhighways of electric lines. That currently, there's some bigger ones that are being proposed, but there's some controversies over that as well. And so many of them going to rural areas is primarily because there's so much power being generated by wind and now actually even solar. Back in the day, most of the solar was over in New Mexico. But today there's actually quite a bit more solar in West Texas than I think we're used to or have even realized. And so that combination of solar during the day, the wind blows at night, so the wind towers turning. The electric grid itself with those CREZ lines going to the metropolitan areas got too full. And so oftentimes you'd be driving past a wind turbine and it's not turning, right? And or even a whole field of them, and that's primarily because those lines were too full. It's not because there wasn't demand for the power. It's just you couldn't put any more power on the lines. And so many of these data centers coming to West Texas is take advantage of the fact that they could literally turn the switch on some of that power and be able to consume it.
I read years ago something that was fascinating, or someone told me. I was making this assumption that West Texas is perfect for turbines. And then someone it was before that the big one went up out at the windmill that they use for their power at the Windmill Museum. Mm-hmm. They said, well, it's actually West Texas is actually at a disadvantage because those things shut down after the winds get so high. So the wind could be blowing 35 miles an hour and they're not working. It has to be between something like 10 and 25 or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember what the mile per hours are, but yes, if you start getting into tornado type winds, which is not abnormal in West Texas, they will shut down.
I want to go back and ask you about, you said rural, more and more are going into data centers going into rural areas. How do they get their water? Is it rural capture or?
Well, and remember that data centers, these hyperscalers from 10 years ago operated under completely different types of technology than is available today. So many of them did do air cooling, and they consume quite a bit of water. And so they're pulling from that aquifer if they're in a rural area. They don't have a municipality that they can pull the water from. But the technology continues to change, and many of these hyperscalers are not using near the volume of. They're using a fraction of the water that they used to use. Yeah. And then we're also seeing even more new technology being deployed. Not just the radiator style closed loop system that they talk about today, but there was recently Lancium just recently announced that they were developing a system to access the brackish water that's underneath the ground near Childress. And then they're developing a water treatment plant for Childress to clean that water to potable standard. And so that's huge for the city of Childress. The backs of the citizens don't have to pay for that. That's industry paying for that, and then donating it to the city of Childress. So that's incredible investment to help Childress remain viable long term from a
somebody
water
else
perspective.
Mentioned that earlier in the week. I think that's fascinating. It feels like anybody interested in following this saga of data centers, especially in Lubbock, having yet to pull the trigger on a large-scale data center, or getting an education about megawatts.
Yes.
And you mentioned 1,000 megawatts. Is that kind of the bar? Is that kind of the bar where you between the classifying data center and a large-scale data center?
No, it really isn't.
Okay.
By ERCOT standards, they look at the load as a large load of being 75 megawatts on up. So these hyperscalers that are talking about a gigawatt or 1,000 megawatts is really huge, absolutely incredibly large, bigger than the city of Lubbock's consumption of power. But technically, anybody that goes 75 megawatts on up actually has to do different studies than if it's below 75 megawatts because of what is considered a large load in ERCOT.
So for perspective, this data center that I understand is not large scale per se, that just went or is going up or something under construction. I don't know what the status of it is in Lubbock, downtown.
Oh, are you talking about the one that is out there on the northeast side of Lubbock at Municipal Drive in Guava?
Yeah, that's it.
It's that's a company called Corva. They have actually not started construction. They haven't even closed on the land. LEDA still owns the land. They had quite a bit of studies that still needed to be done, and also they've still got to work on their interconnect agreement. And with the pause in all data centers, their project is currently paused at the moment. And but they're only 27 megawatts.
That was my question.
Yeah, they're only 27 megawatts. They use a total of about 1,500 gallons of water a day, 1,500 gallons of water a day once they're in full operation.
And what's the metric for a large scale in terms of gallons a day?
There's not one by ERCOT standards because they only deal in the electricity side of things. But
gotcha.
we actually turned down replying to an RFP the other day that was for 15 million gallons of water a day. 15 million.
Give me some perspective there.
Like that data center was over a gigawatt, but they needed 15 million.
That's a
gallons.
lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of water. to kind of give you a perspective, Jarrett and the city manager for the city of Lubbock, he talks about how this new lake coming online for us, Lake 7, here in 2032, will produce about 12 million gallons of water a day. So 15 million is just too much, and we said no, that's not what we want here in our community.
That would just that would regulate all that Lake 7 effort just for one data center.
One data center. Yeah, they don't need to be in Texas, in my opinion.
Right. We're going to take a look at and ask you about what's on the horizon next 12 to 24 months in terms of construction projects. Anything you can share with us after the break. Stay with us. John Osborne on the Wake Up Call, 92.3 The Hub.
Wake Up Call with Benji Snead continues on 92.3 The Hub, the voice for freedom.
Good morning. Welcome back to the program. 7:50 a.m. Winding down another hour of the program as we visit with John Osborne this morning. We're on every day, by the way, 6 to 9 a.m. And like I said, time flies when you're having fun. Seems like you just got here.
And for the record, I did come early.
You did.
Yeah.
We got an extra segment out of you. Turns out we may need it. But I want to ask you real quick, as promised before the break, what are some, whatever you can share, what are some hiring, construction milestones listeners should watch for the next 12 to 24 months?
I think the thing that I'm very bullish about Lubbock in right now is that the rest of the United States is just feeling a lot of economic pains. And what I've noticed about Lubbock is while we still have some of those pains, just like the rest of the nation does, we continue to see good growth. I've been talking to some housing developers that are about to break ground on some new houses, some new retail areas. And I've liked the fact that many of them are getting a little bit more diverse in their locations around the community in which they're looking at. I think we've got some exciting things happening in downtown, in kind of all different sectors. And I really love the fact that the university Texas Tech has continued to grow, adding a few more extra thousand students. Just a couple of years ago, we were at 42,000 students. Right. So to be at 45 now is incredible. And I think that is really positive for our community. Not only do they add more faculty and administration to go along with those students, but those students bring their pocketbooks, right. and they bring their current dollars, their parents' dollars, and their future dollars all to spend while they're here.
Yeah.
And most importantly, they come out of the university with skills and talents that we need as a community. And if we can keep convincing them to remain in our community and have jobs in our community and start their companies in our community, that's going to continue to see good growth for Lubbock.
Sure. I want to talk about something that appears to me to be intentional. You can tell me a two-part question. So we have this Chick-fil-A supply, also developing roughly 50 million distribution hub. Is Lubbock deliberately becoming a regional logistics center? And what advantages are there to that?
If you look back, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, Lubbock was really rural in terms of distance from the rest of the world. And the world has gotten a lot smaller. And while our location didn't change, the ability to go from point A to point B has gotten much easier.
Right.
And so, one thing I love about this Chick-fil-A project is it's not just for the 6 or 7 Chick-fil-A's we have here in town. It's also for the ones in Amarillo and Midland, Odessa, and Abilene. But actually, more importantly, we are the backstop to the Texas Triangle, that if there's a breakdown in distribution over there, then we can help back supply to those locations. And I think Lubbock, while we didn't change in our distance from the Texas Triangle, it's such a smaller world these days that distribution companies are looking at Lubbock as a great place to be able to distribute to lots of different areas. We've got companies that go to 4 different states here in our community. They go over to Phoenix and Arizona out of Lubbock. And then we've got our manufacturers that are supplying parts all over the world. And it's pretty incredible to see how beneficial that is to our community.
Yeah, and all these projects need workers, engineers, technicians. We talked about engineers earlier. Where is the biggest labor shortage, and what are LEDA, Texas Tech, South Plains College, local school districts doing about that?
Yeah, probably 10 years ago, we really changed a lot of our focus to work towards the career and technical education aspect, even before the state really tried to emphasize it. We knew that not every kid wanted to go to college or could afford to go to college, and we wanted to give them a pathway to get a skill that would allow them to provide for their families. And so we've invested close to $19 million over the last decade in career and technical education programs at our high school and junior college levels throughout the region. And so that's really helped in a lot of areas, but there's still a lot of room to grow. I know we've been working closely with South Plains College on the establishment of a plumbing program that's been much needed for not just Lubbock, but for the entire region. And so there's some little spots that we've got to continue to address and all. But the labor shortage is almost a misnomer here in our community, because there is so many people that want to move back, want to remain in our community after school, and so companies need to, if they're having challenges with the labor supply, they need to reach out to us, allow us to help them find different sources. There are some categories that are just tough in general, whether it's a cleaner for a hotel or a waiter or waitress. Those are less and less people that are in high school are wanting to work, let alone work in those types of jobs. Wow. And
don't we know it?
And so even my own sons, my oldest didn't even do his first job until he's 19, and I remember my dad telling me at age 14, go get a job. Yeah,
I was driving a combine when I was 11, so I get it. Yeah. All right, big picture wise, I think since 2004, is that when LEDA came into existence?
Yep.
Okay. You guys have helped assisted over 300 companies. I think I saw on your website almost 15,000 jobs, $3.3 billion in capital investments. Do you track how many of those promised jobs exist today?
We've To some extent, we do. Obviously, the stuff that we landed in 2004, 5, and 6.
Right.
It's much harder to sit there and say, is that job still here today?
Yeah.
But is that company still here today? And are they still operating? And have they still done a good job of being increased in where they are in economic activity?
Uh-huh.
And we actually had Dr. Ray Perryman, a world-renowned economist, do an impact of LEDA over a 20-year period, going from November of 2004 to November of 2024.
Okay.
And it was pretty incredible. It's that we've got it on our website if people want to look at more into the details of it. But it, since our inception, it's been a tremendous amount of impact. We've dealt with hundreds of companies and local expansions and new companies.
Yeah.
14,000 jobs at that time, and it was and he even put that it was an incredibly effective use of the dollars that were invested from an incentive standpoint to make things happen.
Got it. Well, if you can't tell your mom about Leprino in advance, I know you can't tell me any confidential information.
Yeah, sorry.
But can you help?
Especially on the radio.
Yeah, right. Can you? Good point.
Because I know more than your mom is listening right now.
Yeah, I get it. But from a big picture standpoint, can you share how active is your current pipeline? Do we have serious projects that are considering Lubbock, jobs, anything like that?
Yeah, we really do. In fact, we've got, back in the day, I remember when we worked with Monsanto, now Bear Crop Science, to put their seed processing facility in North Lubbock, right near the airport, $150 million investment, and that was huge. Mm-hmm. Today, there's multiple projects that are at least billions of dollars of investment, and hundreds and hundreds of jobs, different types of industries looking at us right now. I think these next 5 years are going to be pretty incredible, with new industries looking at us, but also good, healthy growth from our local companies.
Awesome. Never enough time to get to all of it, John, but thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We always have a reason to have you back because I didn't even get to I got to about half the questions I wanted to ask, but we'll have you back. We appreciate your support, appreciate you being on the program and everything you do for Lubbock.
Thank you.
All right. Wake up call. We'll be back after this. Stay tuned.